Right. We are live. Welcome, everybody. We're going to give it a few minutes because we're here live for people to join. So when you're joining, as you get here, say where you're watching from. If you're preparing for the PTE test, say when you're taking it. If you want to share something else, share that as well. I will be introducing the episode in just a few minutes, but this is Meredith and Bartek here. Say hi. Hey,
Hi.
everybody. Yep. We've got some people joining already, it looks like. I see Bianchi Mendoza from the Philippines. Great to have you. It looks like I'm going to say this incorrectly. Everesia, hello, welcome. Again, say where you're watching from. We're going to be getting started in just a moment. I'm going to also hit the music. Why not? All right. You're both in different places, right? Meredith, you're in the United States. Right now, I'm in the United States. Bartek, you're
In Poland.
In Poland right now, so we're all over the place. How's the weather over there?
Well, in Chicago, it's hot, just like all over the U.S. Right now. I think it's experiencing a heat wave. I'm in Chicago for the National Council of State Boards of Nursing meeting, and I think the heat index here was 115 yesterday.
Yikes. Wow. Yeah.
Similar here, so I guess we are enjoying the final days of the summer season before the school kicks in and all the students will say like, oh my God, not again. Yeah, but the weather is fine. So at least it's not raining till they have the last days of their days off.
A lot of people joining. We've got Eddie here, someone watching from Zimbabwe, more people coming in from the Philippines, India, Dubai, wow, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, hello. Sophie from England, great, Argentina. So we've got people from all over the place joining. That is awesome. We're going to give it just one more minute. Again, as you join, say where you're watching from. If you're preparing for the PTE test, share where you are in your journey. Not started preparing yet? Just thinking about it? Getting close? Maybe it's tomorrow? If it's tomorrow, hopefully our advice will still be useful, but that
would be the absolute record breaker. Like, my exam is tomorrow and I need some strategies for.
Just download everything that we say today and you'll be okay. Okay. All right, I think we're going to get started. Bangladesh, India, fantastic. All right, let's hop into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to PTE Live. I'm Luke, and I will be your host for today's session, all about how preparation can change your life. We have two fantastic experts with us today, and I'm really excited to get their insights. One is Meredith Stokes, Pearson's USA Recognition Manager, and she's here to talk about how a good PTE score can unlock big opportunities, especially if you're looking to study or work in the United States. And we're also joined by Bartek Yenyak, who's going to be sharing great tips. As usual, you may remember Bartek from previous episodes and walk us through some key test strategies for all 4 sections of the test. Okay, now if you've got questions, drop those in the chat. We will be answering them as we go live. We will also be offering something just for those watching live, a very special thing we have not done before. We'll be doing that later in the episode. All right, let's jump in and talk about how getting a good PTE score can really make a difference in your life. And I'll just read this quote to kind of set the tone. The study material and other important information was great and helped with preparation for the test. I achieved my required score, and I've been able to apply for my visa screen certificate. So just one example of how getting a good score, the score you need, can impact your life. All right, so let's just quickly have both of you introduce yourselves. Maybe Bartek first, and then Meredith. Meredith, a quick introduction, and then we'll get into the topic.
A very quick one. I'm a teacher trainer and the assessment advisor, and I run educational programs across the globe supporting Pearson within the assessment portfolio. A short one. That's it.
That's a good one. Meredith?
Hi, my name is Meredith Stokes, and I'm the PTE US manager. So I work with my amazing team here in the US, and we work with universities, nursing boards, anybody that needs English language proficiency coming to the United States.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I think we can get right into our main topic. So we're going to be talking about how you can change your life when you prepare well and what that means exactly. So I don't know, maybe Meredith, you want to take this question first, but just to start it off, how can a good score on the PTE open doors, kind of create opportunities academically, professionally, whatever?
Sure, Luke. So I think we all know that a score is just a score, but it's a reflection of your performance. And so our score reports is that reflection of your performance essentially on our test. So a good score can do anything from get you into a better school to eliminate a pathway program. If you're coming to the US, sometimes if you have a lower score, you might have to start at a university through a pathway program. That could add some time to your study as well as some extra money. So it can be time saving, it can be money saving. So it's very important on the study side just because of placement into the university. Scores are also dependent upon the type of university. And so a good score really for study reflects your ability and where you can land in a school and how you could possibly perform within that school. On the other side, professionally, to be a nurse in the US, you have to have a certain level of English language proficiency. And so obviously measured with score reports. So if you don't get that required score, you can't be licensed. As our testimonial said, they got their visa screen. So that must have been a nurse getting their visa screen. So the required score is important for that.
Okay. All right. That's good. I think that's good context. So then maybe we can talk about college study requirements and what students should expect, maybe as they're thinking about studying abroad in the United States specifically.
Sure. I think with study, it's kind of a range. The first thing to understand is that PTE doesn't set the scores. The institutions set their scores and they get to choose how low or how high or in the middle that they would like them. But in the US, to study at an undergraduate level, you're really looking at least a 44 to be able to enter most community colleges. For most undergraduate programs and even a lot of graduate programs, 53 is that threshold that's most commonly seen in the United States. But take an example like Brown University, that is an Ivy university. For their undergraduate admissions, it needs a 75. So you can really see the difference between that 53
Pretty wide
and the
range,
75.
Yeah.
There's also graduate programs that have a little bit higher of a requirement. Arizona State requires a 63. I said I was in Chicago, so shout out to University of Chicago Business School. You need a 70 to get into their business school. So,
is there any wiggle room for anything? Or is it always pretty fixed?
From my understanding, it's pretty fixed at each school. If they say a student, I've been told maybe a student doesn't have the exact score that they're looking for, they could ask the recruiter to write letters for them. They could do interviews possibly. I know that some schools do have some other opportunities to demonstrate your English capabilities. other than just the standalone score, but typically the score is a threshold for U.S. universities. And so they're looking for that minimum. Again, there's options of pathway programs, tons of them that are great in the U.S. That can move you from that lower score also and get that help. And I think the last thing to talk about with scores is it might not be familiar to people in the US, but there are a lot of people living in the US that want to migrate to Australia or to New Zealand or to the UK. And those countries require a language exam also. Most of those scores, even for a partner visa, starts at around 50. So I think my baseline that I tell people for a minimum level of study in the US would be around that 50, would be
go for a 50. Yeah.
At least a 50, 53, you're safe, I think, for almost most of the U.S. schools.
Okay. Again, useful, I think, to get a sense that there is a pretty wide range, and it kind of depends on what it's for, right? Seems like more prestigious academia would be a much higher requirement, and as you said, something like migration would be up around a 50 in general. I think that's a good general benchmark. I think the main thing that we're leading to, right, is, okay, then what happens when I don't get whatever, 50, 60, 70, whatever I need? What happens if that doesn't happen? So I think here we can talk about that. Maybe Bartek, you can respond to this first. Setbacks, failures, it happens, right? That's a big fear, I think, that people have in the back of their minds as they're preparing. What if I don't make it? So is there anything we can say there?
So I would start basically with saying that the world will not end if you will not get a desired score. This is like a relief that something will not happen. It's not like open heart surgery in the first place. And the second option is like if you don't meet the score, just being this growth oriented with the Carol Dweck and the growth mindset, you need to treat this element as like a signpost from where you are right now. And then you can go back to this university requirements and to check the required level again and to see the amount of knowledge you need to accumulate to get there. Okay, so treat this result as you get them as kind of a roadmap for the place where you want to be. Okay, because you can retake the test, but you should be, as a test taker, I would be really mindful of the amount of time needed to get to a particular level. Because if you miss the score by a few points, it means that you are within the range of, let's say,
you're not far off.
Yes,
right.
But if you miss it greatly, so let's say like your score is like 43 or even below, and the required is around 75, then you just look GSE scale and say, and you look at the way
big
that
gap,
is between you and the score. Okay, so be mindful of the time that it will take you to get there.
So yeah, don't assume that you can go from a 40 to a 70 in a month, maybe.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Have a realistic. We've talked about that in previous episodes. Have a realistic time frame for preparation, right?
Because this is what you mentioned. This is like your gate to your profession, to your career, to your future life. So be very realistic about it. Okay, take this thing seriously. Do it worry-free, but be serious about it and just get down to work.
I like that phrasing. Serious, not worried. Serious and realistic, not worried. Worrying isn't helpful. Taking it seriously and being realistic is helpful. I wanna ask you, Meredith, as well, but I just want to acknowledge that we've got quite a few people still joining us, which is great to see, and quite a few questions coming in. How to speak in speaking. So we're going to be going into the speaking section. We're going to be going through all 4 sections of the test. Okay, so we will get there, and we're going to answer some questions as well in just a moment. Let's see. let's see. We've got some questions from Evaricia, the one I mentioned before. Spooky Reed, I see your question there. We're going to be getting to as many as we can in just a moment. We've got people joining from Facebook, from YouTube. By the way, when I look down, I'm actually looking at the chat, just so you know why I'm kind of looking down. Meredith, is there anything you want to add there in sort of the context of I didn't make it, or at least I'm afraid of not making it, right?
I mean, I think don't give up. Be confident in your skills. When you do the same thing and it elicits the same result, change things. Do something different. Bartek mentioned using your score and kind of creating that learning plan. Set some time aside every single day to practice. Find somebody to practice with. We have an app called Mondly, and Mondly is a great interactive app. I've used it on different trips to try to learn languages or learn phrases. But I think more than anything, it's great for people that need somebody to practice with and don't want to, their spouse is tired of doing that or their children don't understand. It's nice to have somebody or something to kind of change that up. So have a plan. Don't give up. Be confident in your skills. Confidence is so key in delivery. If you go into anything in life, thinking that it's not going to turn out right and I'm terrible at this, it's going to show through. So it's definitely not going to get you from a 40 to a 70 but it will help on a lot of things. So just focus. I would say again, be mindful of the time because it's not an easy jump. And the other thing that I tell people a lot is try not to do a test prep, because our whole goal is for you to learn English. So we talked again about a learning plan. So take your scores and use them to learn English. Don't just try to beat the test. It's not going to be helpful in your life.
The deeper
You're
skill
gonna have,
of proficiency. Yeah.
And so a lot of people you'll see, they sign up for these weekend or week-long crash courses, and their listening skill might already be very, very high. It's just their speaking that they need help with. So I would say really focus on the areas that you need help with and get help with those areas. Try to kind of stay away from the whole crash course, I think, unless there are some great crash courses that are spread out and done well. And I think that they're out there, but there are also some that will just try to pack as much into it as possible. And I think that might just raise the stress level a little bit also. So.
That's this wonderful promise that
Oh, hold on a second. I think we had it now.
I can see everybody's head moving now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
we're good now. Okay.
we
had a slight hiccup. We're good. We're okay. We're okay. All good. Can you say that last point, Bartek? Because you froze in the middle of saying it.
I froze. I was like, okay, they don't want me to say this. And like, basically, there are some of those crash courses that tell you that we'll teach you within the 2 days. We'll bring you your score within the 2 days time. And like, approach this like questioning orientation. Is this really possible? Okay, don't be like attracted to something which looks shiny and offers something in a very short period of time. I'm this traditional preparation person, like work in advance, by the end, join the crash course because you've done your work a year ago, and then finally jump on the crash course just to brush.
Just to brush up. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So go slow, prepare well, build confidence. And we talked about confidence last time. If you missed that one, that's a good one to check out. We spent a lot of time on that. Okay, well, sorry for the slight connection hiccup. I'm not sure where that happened, but I would love to get into some questions. So why don't we hop into our Q&A section? I think we've got some great questions coming in. So I'm just going to go through, we're going to go through a couple, and then we're going to then get into the 4 sections, okay? So from YouTube, from Damola, I really want to honestly ask, how does the way an individual speaks affect their speaking score? What is it with voice pitch of an individual and the way it affects their score? That's an interesting question. It seems to be not about just each individual speaks and whether that can have any impact. So either of you want to take that?
I'm going to let Bartek take this, but I'm going to put out there this myth. And the myth is that if you speak very loudly, your score is better. Okay. So this is probably a lot of what that comes from. You'll see, I see this in chat groups all the time. So I'm going to let Bartek handle that, but that's definitely something that we read a lot.
Yeah.
So in general, basically, when it comes to all the speaking elements, just imagine that do your best so that the other side that you communicate with will get the message. So you need to be clear enough. You need to speak at a moderate pace. You need to be very natural. You need to be mindful of intonation and phrasing. You shouldn't be worried about accent. We've been telling this element for a long time that accents don't really matter because the engine have been trained on international accents. So basically, when it comes to speaking, train yourself to sound natural and do not rush. Because sometimes when the anxiety kicks in, people want to speed up, thinking that they will, or they want to speak louder, or they cover their face, they want to speak in a more quieter manner. Just practice when it comes to this exam preparation, practice being natural, as if you are speaking with a different person on the street, or as if you're gonna be talking to your professor at the university, because this is where you'll be using your academic English.
Absolutely. Okay, I've got a question from Crystal on Facebook. How do I get a discount code? Hold on, Crystal. Just a minute. Give me a minute on that.
Crystal.
It's coming very soon. We've got a question from Samrat from YouTube. Please provide some examples of how read aloud and repeat sentence should be attended. I think we want to wait on that. We can maybe answer that question as part of our focus on 4 sections. From Instagram, what is the best score can control your future? So I guess that maybe is... Can I just say
the best score is a 90. And if you get a 90, that's great.
Well, what is the highest minimum criteria that you've seen for admittance at the most elite whatever?
75, I think.
75?
Yeah.
So that's your answer.
Yeah.
Get a 75. Get a 75 and you can control your future.
You can control your future, yeah. That's the world is your oyster.
The world is your oyster with a 75.
5. That's
yes.
true.
I have
but
no
you need
idea.
To put some work to get to 75 because this is like a C1 level. So it's not happening like this. Yeah. But it's worth the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no idea where to start preparation. Can anyone guide me? So I think both of you answered that. It's start early, make a plan, build confidence over time, do the work, be consistent. And if you have that in place, you're going to be fine if you're realistic, right? Is that a fair answer?
I also, Luke, tell people there's a lot of free material. We have amazing YouTube channel. We have tons of links on our website that are free. There's a lot of free material that Pearson gives. And then I think the second part is that scored practice test to really give you not just a baseline of your performance, but to familiarize yourself with the test and the structure is crucial. So Those would be my two suggestions that I tell everybody is start on the free route, exhaust your free route, see where you land on a practice test, and then see if you need to get professional help and you need more of a learning plan, or if you're ready.
Right. That goes back to that be realistic thing. Where are you now? Where do you need to go, basically? And speaking of the scored practice test, and speaking of the word free, since you mentioned it, I want to share a few before we get into the 4 sections, a few resources for you, and we have a very special giveaway that we are doing today, just today. We are giving away 5 scored practice tests. Oh, sorry, let me go back to that. We're giving away 5 scored practice tests. If you type "do it worry-free" in the comments, do it worry-free, type that in the comments now. If you're here with us live, put that in the chat. You have the opportunity to get a free scored practice test. Now, this scored practice test is an amazing way to practice for the test because you get a realistic score, you get a feel for the test, right? And you can kind of get a sense for the timings. So the winners will be selected at random at the end of this session and contacted directly with a code. The winners will be named in the comments section at the end. So make sure to stick around, okay? Now, if you do miss out on that, okay, you can still get the practice test. We have another offer. You can check out the also academic question bank. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button there. Apologies. You can check out the academic question bank, which is also a great way to prepare for the test. Both of these you can use PTE Live 10 to get 10% off with that code, PTE Live 10. So click the links in the chat to get that limited offer. Okay, so now I think we can get into all 4 sections. Now I can hit that button, the button that I accidentally hit twice. All right, so let's talk about the sections. We're going to start with speaking. Now, we will be answering more questions, so keep those coming in. We still have more people joining, by the way, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. I see you, Shristi and Kurti. I see a question from Engineer, and I see, let's see, hi from, I'm not sure where that's from, Shabana, welcome, hello. We've still got a lot of people joining, it looks like, which is great. Okay, and again, keep the questions coming. We are going to be going through more questions once we get through the 4 sections here. Soulful meal, that's an interesting one. Okay, so maybe just to put this in context, starting with speaking. The speaking, we're going to be working on repeat sentence. For this item type, you need to repeat the sentence you hear. The audio will begin playing automatically, and when the audio finishes, the microphone will open, and you will see recording as a status, and you want to speak into the microphone immediately and repeat exactly what you hear. And just to give you an idea of what it looks like, I know it looks kind of small, but that's generally what it looks like. So first, I want to ask, what are some of the common mistakes that people make for this question type? Bartek?
Do you want me to go first, or you want
Sure.
to be the expert, Bartek? So I think from my side, what I hear the most is repeating of sentences or repeating of phrases when their mind kind of blanks, and so repeating back or speaking really fast. Those would be the 2 things that stick out to me. Bartek, you're more of the expert on this.
Fast and jumbled, you mean a problem because it's sort of too mushed together?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and repeating the sentences or part of the sentence several times, or this rushing, I call it this machine gun approach. Like the faster I say it, the more points I get. Now, as Luke, you presented it on the screen, you don't need to rush. You've got a certain amount of time, and you can be sure that within this amount of time, you can repeat the sentence as clearly and as naturally as possible. But one of the options worth remembering is like there is a chance to take notes. However, with this question type, and this is what it
With
brings
a
us to the
whiteboard, right? You have the whiteboard to take notes.
yeah, you've got the notepad. So it comes to the preparation period. You don't have literally a lot of time to write the sentence. And if your strategy will be to write down the whole sentence to repeat, you will run out of time.
Okay.
If
That's
you
a good
think
point.
that it's gonna be that it helps you because this is your strategy, make sure just to jot down only the keywords, and the time will be just enough. For some people, it's much better to repeat the sentence without jotting down the keywords. So you need to figure this out in this preparation period. But it shouldn't be happening 2 days before the test.
Yeah.
Because once you get in the habit, so this is the point for all the question types, you need to make this strategy habitual for you so that you wouldn't be thinking of this strategy, you would be using it automatically. So keywords only, and then you build the sentence. Sometimes there's a different group that they need to practice recalling the sentence, like building the mental image of the sentence, like concentrating on the meaning of the sentence. Okay, picturing the sentence in their mind and just training the short-term memory. So there are two various strategies. If you think the note-taking is going to help you, you should be very careful, just the keywords. If not, then train yourself on getting the meaning of a sentence, like creating a mental image of what the sentence is saying.
And everyone's different, so each person might come up with their own system. Your point is figure out what your system is, what works
in advance,
for you,
and
do it 6 months ahead, not 2 days ahead. Yeah.
Because, for example, in the note-taking, in different questions, there is a strategy to develop. You need to develop your system of abbreviations. You need to train yourself how to catch the keywords and anything like this. So you need to do it in advance. And the second option is like pay attention to the intonation, pay attention to the pace, and be very natural. Don't try to shout and don't try to speed up. There is no need. If you hear a word which actually it's new for you, just try to say it as closely as possible. And the final one, because some people do it, don't try to insert within the sentence different sophisticated phrases, hoping that they will get you a higher score on oral fluency.
Right. Yeah, that's not what you're being evaluated for.
Yes, every insertion is an error. Okay, so this is point to remember. And the second one is, don't put anything at the very beginning or at the end of the sentence. So these phrases that you insert before and after, hoping that they will get you a higher score, because they are simply ignored by the system. So if the sentence is like, I went to the swimming pool, and you start with sophisticated language sounds, blah, 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 and then you repeat the sentence, this initial part will be ignored. So you'll just lose time.
On a cool summer day. Yeah.
Yes. So don't go for this strategy. That's it.
It's another thing that I think comes up in all of our episodes and it's so simple as advice, but it keeps coming back, and it's basically learn the questions and the requirements. Master them.
Yes.
That's not hard. Just learn what it is that you have to do, right? Follow the instructions, and actually that's a big advantage for you, right?
And the scored practice test will help with that.
Ooh, and Meredith, you mentioned these free materials. Just get to the website, download the score guide, see the scoring criteria, and then you're like, okay, I cannot insert any words. It doesn't make sense for me to add anything at the end.
The score guide is an excellent tip, Bartek, because so many times we're asked, well, which ones do they count off if you answer wrong? The score guide will tell you all of that.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, good reference to the scored practice test as well. I'm seeing, by the way, I don't think I've ever seen the phrase "do it worry-free" so many times in my life. I'm looking at the chat, and it's basically do it
Some people
worry-free.
will have a chance to test their own skill soon.
Yes.
And they will have a
yes.
chance to see, okay, are they in or they need to work towards the goal
Well,
they
I'm
desire?
thinking maybe we need to do a little more next time because I'm seeing a lot of people who are interested. Yeah, and we're going to be
Definitely.
announcing that at the end, so make sure to stick around to see if one of those winners is you. Let's move on. Let's talk about the writing section. And again, I'll just give a brief kind of overview. For summarized written text, for this item type, you need to write a summary of the text in one sentence. You have 10 minutes to write your summary. Make sure to include the main points of the reading passage in full, single sentence of no more. In a full, I missed the word in a full single sentence of no more than 75 words. And again, just to show you what that looks like, it looks like this. I know it looks small, but that's just to give you a general idea. So for this one, I think we can talk about strategies, the best ways maybe to practice for this one, practice methods, right? I think that would be helpful. And I saw a question along those lines as well in the comments.
So I would just start with saying like, oh, I can see that you are moving.
Yeah. So we had another slowdown. Sorry, everyone. I'm not sure. We'll have
It
to
must
do
be
some.
all the people. There's so many people.
I wonder. We'll have to do some troubleshooting after to see what exactly happened. But yeah, I think we're good to go now. Sorry, Bartek. Go ahead and continue your point. Bartek, are you there? Bartek, can you hear me? Hello?
He's moving
Hello?
again.
Oh, he's moving again. Bartek, I can't hear you. Meredith, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, well, let's see if Bartek comes back. Did you have a point to add on the summarize written text, just as a general tip?
Yes, don't use a template. It's not going to help you summarize this written text. Templates are great to arrange your thoughts and practice introductions and closings of things, but don't use a template in your writing. That would be my
Don't
advice.
use a template. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Basically, you also have to have a system in place, right, for yourself. You need a system. If you don't have a system well in advance, right, then you're going to be rushing at the last minute, and that's going to also hurt your confidence. Bartek, are you able to hear us? Bartek, can you hear? I can hear Bartek, and I can see Bartek.
He can't hear us.
Maybe Bartek can hold on. Let me message Bartek to see if he wants to drop out and come back and see if that fixes it. Yeah, that'll probably work. I think one of the things, getting back to the point on summarized written text, one of the things that I often tell people as they are preparing for anything like this, right, where they have to summarize information, is that you need to get really fast at doing the basics. Bartek, can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you're back. All right. I don't know what happened.
I'm back. Yep.
Folks, we will troubleshoot for next time and make sure that we don't have any weird blips. But thanks for coming back. I was just saying, for the summarized written text, what I always tell people for this kind of thing, you need to get really good at being really fast at grabbing important information and condensing it in your own words. To be able to restate things clearly in your own words is something that takes a lot of practice, but also requires a system. You need to have your own system that kind of lives in your brain like an app that can do that really fast without you having to go, how do I say this, right?
Yeah, I can add to it because this is the strategy I was taught a long time ago, and just basically I call it you need to become a paraphrase master for the writing item types. And what we did in the past, quite traditional, but we were giving the sentences, and our homework was to paraphrase all the sentences. We didn't have good internet dictionaries, so we were using the paper ones, the synonyms, the thesaurus, the dictionaries, and then we had to learn all the possible ways you can paraphrase a sentence or a word. And it helped me greatly to develop this habit of saying the same thing using a different word. So learn paraphrasing and be sure that you know what to say and what words to use so that you will not be copying exactly the same words that you see in the prompt, which is not what
Right.
you want to.
Right. It has to be in your own words, and that's hard to learn, right? But you have to kind of program yourself with that, right?
Mhm.
Any other points on writing that we want to touch on
I
quickly
would say
before we
that
move on to reading?
since it's timed, you have 10 minutes. So in the preparation period, just teach yourself how to be okay within this time limit. And you can experiment, like you've got like
Yeah.
1 minute for skimming the text. Then you spend 2 minutes for reading carefully, just making notes of the most important points and the supporting ideas. Then you spend 5 minutes on writing the sentence. And then, for example, you are left with 2 minutes to compare the sentence with the original text. Just measure the time, see if you are within the time limits, that if you are not rushing, and just experiment. Maybe some part takes longer, some parts take shorter for you. Just do it in advance so that you'll not have to worry that you will run out of time. Yeah, so
Yeah.
because this is a very timed condition.
On that
Absolutely.
same note, I heard this tip from somebody also that does PTE practice and offers these courses, but they have their students go through news articles in English and set a timer for 10 minutes, and then they summarize the news article, and they
Yeah.
can do it in 2 or 3 sentences. And so that's something easy that you can do at home and you don't need anybody to help you with. So get online, look at these news articles, and set your timer and try to write out your summary after you read it in this 10 minutes. And I thought that was a great exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good one, especially because often the language in a news article, there's going to be a good mix of, let's say, clear language, written at, let's say, the 6th grade level, but also some advanced language for the specific thing the article is about. So it usually has
Yeah.
a good spread in terms of difficulty.
And look,
Okay,
you mentioned the question bank at some point. So
I did.
if
Yeah.
if
PTE
you
Live 10
practice as
question bank.
as a test taker, just go there, see the sample answers, and just look at the role models. Okay, look at the examples of the summarized written text and like a one sentence, the structure, and build the knowledge from there. If you don't have any other sources, or basically you are just starting on your way without a professional help from a tutor, for example, because this is happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be sharing that again in just a bit, but I want to keep going, and we again have more questions coming in, more do it worry free. It's an outrageous number of these coming in.
Look, next
It's pretty
session you're
amazing.
gonna get 100. Okay.
Hey, that sounds great. Yeah, somebody's going to have to work hard at that. If we do 100. If we do 100, since we're doing it manually, right? It would be a little challenging. We'd have to hire a small team. But yeah, we've got more people joining. We've got a lot of people watching us live from Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We've got good questions coming in. We're going to be doing a Q&A in just a moment as we go through the reading section and the writing section. Let's start with, the listening section and the reading section. Let's start with the reading section, multiple choice, multiple answer. For this item type, you need to read the passage and answer the multiple choice question. there is more than one correct response. You need to select all the response options that you think are correct from the list of possible options. Okay, and again, I'll just show you what that can look like this. It's very small, but that's just to give you an idea. Okay, so for this specific type, what I'd like to know is how can we avoid some of the common mistakes when we're answering this type of question? And maybe Bartek, you can kick us off.
Yeah, just be sure that the answer you're marking is correct. So, like, you need to be 100% sure, because you
So you
lose
just
points
double check
for,
what you clicked, basically.
yeah, double
right?
check, because this is the question type that you shouldn't be guessing. At some of the question type, guessing is the last resort. If you don't know the words, just select the word. There are no minus points. Within multiple answers, multiple choice, multiple answers, don't select answers if you are not sure, because you will lose point. This is the very first one important. So be very mindful of the scoring criteria. The second option is, at the very beginning, you need to practice the correct sequence of approaching this question. So in the first, you go through the instruction, the question, and the answers, because the answers will give you the purpose of the reading. And then you go to the text, skimming the text, and then careful reading to select the paragraph that usually indicate the correct answer. Don't get tricked by selecting the answer just because of the fact that the same word is used in the answer and in the text, because correct or incorrect answers usually can have similar words that are found in the text. It's rather the synonym or saying something in a different manner. So I would say that don't guess, just teach
Don't
yourself
guess.
like how to be 100% sure that the answer is correct, and start with the correct sequence. Okay,
Yeah.
so first of all, the question, the options, and then go into the text.
I like this the sequence thing, because if you get confused, if you get lost in your own mind, then that's when things start to completely fall apart for any question type.
You start
right?
reading the text very carefully. You start
Yes.
thinking about the words, and we need to
It's easy to
remember
get
that the
lost.
reading section is timed as a reading section. So you need to manage your the time on your own. And this is
Yes.
something you need to practice in the preparation period, like around 2 or 3 minutes per multiple choice, multiple answers, no more. But you need to just keep the time yourself.
Yeah. Have a friend say next, move to the next. Have a friend
Yes.
sit there and basically say time, next. Yeah. Meredith, if you do you have any others here for this one, or we can?
Nope, Bartek has nailed them all.
As he often does, he's the pro. So we're going to just touch on the listening section quickly, and then we're going to get into another Q&A. We have some questions, and I do have the winners in front of me in an envelope, virtual envelope that I'm going to be reading out shortly. Okay, so for the listening section, you'll hear a short sentence. Type the sentence into the response box at the bottom of the screen. The audio begins to play automatically. You're only able to listen to the audio recording once, okay? And then it looks something like this. All right. So for this question, I wonder if it makes sense to practice different, let's say, accents, listening to, I don't know, a bunch of TED Talks or something like that of different accents from different parts of the world, different speeds. We talked about, I think it was in the last episode, Bartek, you said, for some listening question types, you actually, working on your general comprehension for that question type is the wrong thing to do, because you need to get good at being very precise and just knowing what you heard, not necessarily understanding. But is it the same for this? What's different? I mean, what is the right way to prepare?
Meredith or Bartek?
Either way, I'm throwing it to the panel here.
So like listening to various accents, my general piece of advice would be that you need to expose yourself to various accents, because in PTE Academic, you will be exposed to authentic materials. Okay. And the authentic materials, like, for example, other listening question types or summarize the lecture, you can get authentic speakers from around the world. Some of the question types, you'll get like British, American, Australian accents, but still quite similar, yet different. So my piece of advice is, in general, offer yourself the expose yourself to the variety.
Yeah.
It will do more good to you than harm, actually. So you'll train yourself. This is the first element. The second one, so like, as Meredith, you mentioned at the very beginning, do not prep for the test, but develop your language skills. Because in write from dictation, your knowledge of vocabulary and grammar is going to help you. Because, for example, when I'm a test taker and you are saying something in your natural pace, but you join words together, and I don't get some of the word ending, for example, and I don't get the phrase. In the write from dictation, I can hear only the beginning of a word, and I can jot it down. And then, using my knowledge of vocabulary and grammar, I can reconstruct the word ending, for example, or I can reconstruct the small words and add them in the sentence. So it's not only about the listening, but then using my knowledge of grammar and vocabulary and the whole structure to build a complete sentence. Okay?
You infer.
Yes.
If you know more, the more you know, the easier it is to infer what's in the gap. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I would say that.
Sense.
And like, I remember I had a chance to travel with a taxi driver who was listening at a higher speed of different lectures. He told me that it saves time and he remembers more. So you do have an option in various platforms on the internet to increase the speed of a lecture, of a talk.
Yeah.
Once you do it,
you can always do
yes,
that.
audiobooks. Yeah, because you can train yourself just to increase the speed and try to catch the key words of the sentence and then reconstruct the whole sentence. Is like gentle increase the challenge. You will not have increased speed in PTE Academic, but in the practice section, if you're willing to do it, just experiment with it, just train yourself, because then these words will be very closely linked to each other with this increased speed. So train yourself on keywords.
It's like if you lift weights, you go to 100 pounds, and then when you go back to 80 feels so light suddenly.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But this should be done in advance. It's not like the day before. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the theme of the day. Do it in advance, worry-free.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to the Q&A. I just wanted to mention to everyone watching here, we do this segment in every episode. And so in the comments right now, put in which question types specifically you want us to talk about in the next episode or in a future episode. Put it in the comments. We are watching, we're listening. We want to talk about what you want us to talk about, what you want to learn about. So put that in the comments now. I want to move on to our second Q&A section. And we've got some interesting questions here. We've got a lot of people, we've actually got a lot of people still joining and a lot of people here. So let's get into a couple of these. This, I don't know, Meredith, you might want to take this one from, unfortunately, a name that I'm not going to attempt. It's a little challenging for me. But from YouTube, I'm taking my exam on Friday. Can you give me final minute tips? So exactly what we were talking about at the start. Is it too late if it's tomorrow? We've got that question right here. So final little tips for advice?
Scored practice test. Take a scored practice test. If you only have a few days, take the scored practice test so that you're at least familiar with the format, the question types, how quickly things move. I think being prepared for the structure of the exam is a good portion of your preparation and understanding that. I mean, if you've registered at Friday, you feel confident in your levels. So take the scored practice test and focus on your lowest levels, and work on those skills, I would say. Again, you're going to waste your time if you have 2 days to try to scrub for old questions and templates. That's not the way. I would say at this point, you have a couple days, take a scored practice test, see where you fall, and then work on your lowest scores there.
So what you're doing with that is you're actually taking the test, and you're taking it a few times, and that's the thing you're focusing on, because you're seeking their comfort, confidence, a feeling of, I've done this already a few times, rather than I need to learn everything right now. It's not going to happen by Friday, but you can get comfortable. You can build confidence. Yeah, it's a really good answer. From Spooky Reed, are we allowed to rest a while in between the test sections?
We have shortened our test to 2 hours, so there is not a break any longer in the test. If you need special accommodations, you'll need to reach out to View when booking and see if there's any accommodations and submit the necessary paperwork on that.
Prince says, my exam is the 30th of August. Please give me advice. So same question there. We'll skip it. But that's Friday. So we got a lot of Friday test takers looking for some last minute advice.
I start keeping my fingers crossed for the Friday session in that case.
I'm doing it as well. We're all wishing you the best. And I think what we want, I think, is for you to feel prepared going in. So grab that practice test. From Instagram.
And there's one element I would add. I hope that those people, they are already familiar with it. But in case they are not, just familiarize yourself with the procedures that are absolute must when you go and visit the exam test center. Because sometimes you could be hyper prepared, the best prepared test taker in the world, and not be admitted to sit the exam because you forget about the ID or you just arrive late or whatever the thing.
And I have 2 tips for test takers based on this one little thing that I'd like to throw out there. Number 1, don't use a third-party booking person that says, hey, we'll pay for your test. You pay this way. It's typically a scam and will get you banned. Third-party payment is not ideal. Find a different way. And the second thing I would say is make sure your name matches your passport, because
simple,
I
but
have
good, yeah.
Those 2 tips would be my suggestions. Yeah.
Well, we've got a couple minutes left. I just want to quickly read out our winners. So our winners for the practice test that we've been talking about are from Instagram, Ratjan Shrista. Apologies if my pronunciation is not right. Nempal, also from Instagram. Sufyan Zahid from Facebook. Nuwan Tharaka from YouTube. And Joseph Merendik from YouTube. So those are our winners. The scored practice test. That is amazing. Great job. So, enjoy it. Hopefully it helps you in your preparation. If you didn't get it this time, we still have, as an exclusive offer for the scored practice test, a 10% discount applied at checkout with the special code. Again, the code is PTE Live 10. So if you're preparing for the PTE or planning to start preparing soon, these are amazing resources. We also mentioned the question bank. The question bank is also a great way to prepare, so check that out as well. Those are in the links in the chat. And again, the code is PTE Live 10. So congrats to the winners. Fantastic. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you to my wonderful co-hosts. I appreciate it. You are the best. The tips, the insights, fantastic. So thank you so much for being here, Bartek and Meredith.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure.
All right, everyone. Have a good one. Again, good luck. Check out those resources. and we will see you in the next one. Bye.